Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, a fascinating discussion with Beau Bernhard. He's the executive director of the International Gaming Institute, for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to have back on the program Beau Bernhard. He's the executive director of the International Gaming Institute at UNLV. Pleasure to have you back on the program, Beau.
So good to talk to you, Sam.
You work all over the world, and you have students and colleagues all over the world, and you've been talking to them. So I kind of wanted to start out by asking you about different locales and how they're dealing with things. For example, let's start with Singapore, where we do, of course, have two Nevada-related companies, Genting, which is going to open Resorts World on the Las Vegas Strip in the next year or so, and also Las Vegas Sands. They looked like they had controlled the coronavirus, and then they had a second outbreak that came from the migrant workers. So at this point, the Prime Minister said a week or so ago that Singapore is dead in the water. Is that your understanding too?
I think, and I think the Prime Minister understands this, that's it's fluid, as it is all over the planet. Right now, they are seeing they're among the first to have seen a second outbreak. And as a result, the new buzz phrase is circuit breaker. We're going to have circuit breakers periodically in order to sort of interrupt these peaks and hopefully turn them into valleys, right? But yeah, one of the really neat things about my job is that I get to teach students all over the world. Last week, we convened our executive development program alumni. We had 120 people on a Zoom conversation just like this one from all over the world. And yeah, we got to be like Larry King. All right, Singapore, how are you experiencing it there? What's going on in Macau? How are things in Africa? What's the latest in Estonia? And it was a really interesting perspective on a global gaming hospitality tourism experiencing a lot of vulnerability right now.
To say the least. Let's talk about Macau. Macau shut down for 2 weeks, and then they reopened, but my understanding is that the visas have been cut off for the most part from China, and they've actually been giving gift cards to the citizens in Macau to spend money locally. Can you expand on what you learned from Macau?
Yeah, that's right. Once more, Macau shut down so early. In fact, the gaming industry at the time was convened at the European Gaming Show that's in London every year, and we were all shocked that that had happened. It seemed like an overreaction, or at most sort of a reaction that predicted a future that we now know is our reality. The floors of Macau look, it's like a trickle, right, compared to their usual jam-packed setting of seas and seas of tables, right? They're in an environment where the table game predominates. And yes, because Beijing controls the faucet of visas, they're very much under the control of Beijing, at least as it pertains to that tourism base, which is so important to them. So in some ways, that is our future. As we were talking to our Macau alumni last week, a lot of us were interested in what we might be seeing as Las Vegas, for example, might reopen to some degree. But in other ways, of course, it's quite different because of, in both Macau and Singapore, you're talking about very small, confined areas that are more like cities in the United States than they are entire nations. And you're talking about much more confined inbound tourism markets as well. And as a result, I think we have a lot more complexity to deal with in a tourism environment like Las Vegas.
All right, so let's turn our attention to Las Vegas, because there are so many things connected to the reopening. And of course, as we are taping this, the governor has said schools, for example, are not going to be open for the rest of this school year. And he's going to take his time to look at the medical side of things before he wants to open up things. And putting any politics aside on this, let's just talk about the reality, because we've seen Bill Hornbuckle from MGM saying that things are going to be different for MGM properties when they open up. Do you want to expand a little on what Bill Hornbuckle has said so far for our audience that may not have read his comments?
Yeah, I think once more, politics aside, leaders like Bill Hornbuckle at MGM, Matt Maddox at Wynn are making really difficult decisions. I think we all can agree, right? These are amongst the most this is probably the most complex management decision in the history of certainly their careers, or that any of us have seen. And against that backdrop, what I think both of them, I think what a lot of leaders are doing really well right now, is relying on teams of really smart, cognitively diverse individuals who are bringing different things to the table. I love that they're consulting epidemiologists, for example, that they're bringing on board a number of different perspectives, disciplines. And this kind of cognitive diversity is just so important in making good decisions. We've long passed the day where single individuals, brilliant individuals, can solve even the normal complex problems of our day, especially with a complex problem like coronavirus. Having these sorts of diverse, multidisciplinary teams informing the Bill Hornbuckles, informing the Matt Maddoxes is so, so important. And as a result, I think in both of those instances, and several of these instances, you're seeing really multifaceted responses. We saw, of course, the Wynn plan in significant detail for reopening, but also a recognition that this is fluid, and that, like the Singapore illustration we just referenced, we might need circuit breakers, right? There might be ebbs and flows here in a way that, as Bill Hornbuckle pointed out, none of us are used to. And so that sort of accommodation for complexity, for a new normal, is something that all of these leaders are trying to grapple with. And when you think about it, all of the hundreds of thousands of hospitality employees will be grappling with as well. The thing that gives me optimism on that front is the same thing that gave me optimism after October 1st in Las Vegas. The day after October 1st, I was asked to speak at the Global Gaming Expo. And the thing that I said on that day was, hospitality workers are good at making people feel comfortable. It's what they do, right? In many cases, they're drawn to this work because they're good at people. They have social intelligence that enables them to help people navigate difficult times. It's what they do, right? And as a result, once more, if there is a reason for optimism, I see it in the backbone of this Nevada economy, which is very much the hospitality employee who has this kind of social intelligence. So social intelligence we're seeing at the leadership level, and that hopefully at some point in the not too distant future, we'll see on the ground floor with those who are interacting with, at first, the slow trickle of guests that return to our state.
Let's talk about a couple of the things that are going to need to be done. One that Mr. Maddox spoke about was thermal imaging, to be able to take the temperatures of guests coming in. And I was reading a note this morning where somebody raised the issue, well, if a tourist tries to get into a hotel casino, doesn't pass the thermal imaging test, where do they go then? They would be stuck without a hotel room. Would they be able to get on a plane? Has that thought cropped up in your mind?
So I think that's true of pretty much all of what I would call the small solutions, right? There's one big solution out there, and it's the vaccine, right? As we all know, but that is a ways off. And in that environment, it's a number of these small solutions like thermal imaging, that I think are going to, well, what we hope is going to deliver sort of a complex safety net that won't be a panacea, that won't solve the problem, but that will, all in tandem, create a situation that is better than the one certainly that we have right now. And so when you think about these small solutions like thermal imaging, many of them, of course, do lead to other challenges that hopefully will be addressed with other small solutions. One of the things that we're doing at the UNLV International Gaming Institute is the same thing that a lot of labs around the world are doing. We're repurposing in much the same way that big labs are now producing ventilators, right? Or big factories are now producing masks. We've repurposed our Gaming and Hospitality Innovation Lab to solely focus on COVID-19 and to look at not vaccines, because the medical schools, of course, and the researchers around the world are looking at that in the medical sense. But we're looking at it from the gaming and hospitality sense and looking at smaller solutions that in tandem might make a horrible situation better and even palatable to a number of individuals, hopefully, that visit Las Vegas. I think that's what we're going to be seeing over the next 12 to 18 months, absent, of course, the big solution that is the vaccine.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back much more with Beau Bernhard after this timeout.
Because of UMC, there's a wide open road ahead of me.
Because of UMC, she can grow up with her twin sister.
Because of UMC, I'm here to help you.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Beau Bernhard. He is the Executive Director of the International Gaming Institute. So, Beau, I've been talking to local marketing directors, and they've been asking me my thoughts on this. And my thought to them is, for a local casino, the marketing effort initially has to be, we are the cleanest facility you have ever been in. All the food offerings, the gaming offerings, everything else is secondary, tertiary to we are the cleanest property. Is that your thought as well?
I think that's absolutely the case, and I would actually go a step further. I think historically, as consumers, we've expected cleanliness, but we're going to see a shift from cleanliness to sterilization, right? Whereas it used to be that when you walked into your hotel room, you wanted to see that the bed was really made well and that they'd run a vacuum through the place. Now you're going to want to know that that room has been sterilized, right? That the remote control has been sterilized, that the doorknobs have been sterilized, and that we have actually a higher expectation for that. Once more, I think the consumer is going to be okay with things in ways that are obviously, that would have been shocking to us not long ago. But yes, I think we're moving from a cleanliness era, because certainly that's sort of a foundation of hospitality in general and has been, to a sterilization era. And those kinds of solutions, once more, I think we're going to see a lot of small solutions. Think about the air filtration system. For years, of course, and this was brought on because we allow people to smoke in casinos, of course. Casinos have had the highest tech filtration systems imaginable. What remains to be seen is whether and how effective additional sterilization measures can enhance the sterilization of a casino. Of course, there's no sterilization system that's able to suck the coronavirus out of existence in any indoor environment. But maybe, just maybe, we'll see advances in technology, again, small solutions that might in fact make your casino the cleanest place on earth. So I'm with you on that, Sam.
Do you think that this is the end of the era of smoking in casinos?
I think that's very much on the table, right? And we've seen it to some degree already in environments outside of Las Vegas. And there was a huge science for a while in my academic field on the kinds of first declines in revenue, but then a restoration to normal that happens relatively quickly. Once more, all that old data is probably out the window in a new environment where consumer behavior is quite different. But I think that's one of the interesting unintended consequences that we may well see. At the very least, certainly we're going to see air sterilization, air filtration thought of in very, very different ways.
And I, as with you, I am a complete optimist, and I feel that we will get past this and we will return to a normal lifestyle sooner than perhaps we think, because doctors always give you the worst information possible to get you prepared that if it's going to be, this terrible, this is what we're going to have to deal with. And then if it's not so bad, you're happy. Just like when you go to your accountant and he says, well, I'm not sure your tax bill is probably going to be 20 grand. And then you get your tax return and it's 1,500 and you are the greatest accountant ever. So I'm optimistic that we will, seeing the numbers coming out of UMC, for example, that we are on the right path already. But here's a slightly different question, which is security. Now, I know there are casinos that have a heart attack every Halloween with people coming in wearing masks. What is it going to be for security when not only are the dealers and the waitresses and waiters going to be wearing masks, but all the customers are going to be expected to wear masks as well?
Yeah, actually, and let me speak to the optimism question too, Sam, because you and I share an optimistic outlook, and in my case, sometimes overly optimistic. But I think your reference to medical thinking and medical training creating blind spots, it's actually true of every single field, which is why this actually is a really interesting study of decision making, this historical moment, right? And I think what you need is what we've always needed, a multidisciplinary team all at one table, all going after the tough questions. Because a medical training does lead you to look at some things and not others. The same is true of economists who need to be at the table. The same is true of sociologists. The same is true of psychologists. Our philosophy at the International Gaming Institute has always been, I don't know what the answers are necessarily to the really tough questions, but I know the methodology to get there. And that methodology is get a multidisciplinary team all at the same table, all going after the same answers, and having those different lenses, all of which have blind spots, is a really effective decision-making process. And I'm confident that that approach will win out and create some creative solutions. As it pertains to security, I was talking to a friend at MGM who is a longtime security surveillance expert, and he said, I just got comfortable that the facial recognition technology that we've been promised for years and years and years has finally gotten to a place where not only is it effective in a way that helps us operationally, but also can be respectful of privacy, and now everybody's going to be wearing masks. And so all of that's rendered obsolete or ineffective, right? And so, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. This is one of the major challenges that we have moving forward is what's our relationship with masks? So obviously, it's going to have to be a friendly one at first, but that does create other problems. So as I said before, it's like fingers in the dam, right? Every challenge conjures up, hopefully, a solution, which then in turn creates other challenges, and we're going to have to be creative, multifaceted, and again, multidisciplinary as we plug each of these holes as they spring up.
All right, we'll take another break. More with Beau Bernhard when we come back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Are you a homeowner who's interested in remodeling or building a home? At Design Outdoor, we can show you how adding natural or manufactured masonry stone can add beauty and value to your home. And we refer only the best contractors. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Beau Bernhard. He's the executive director of the International Gaming Institute. If you go back to the early 1990s, when Steve Wynn opened the Mirage, the knock on him was you're going to need to bring in $1 million a day to break even. When he opened the Bellagio, it was $2 million a day, and when they opened Wynn, it was $3 million a day. With the social distancing plans of having less tables, less bars, nightclubs gone for the time being, swimming pools and all the rest, how do we expect these properties from your discussions to be able to open and survive, if not thrive, in this circumstance until we get a vaccine?
You're absolutely right, Sam. Clearly, revenue projections and revenue expectations have to be adjusted downward, especially in the relatively near term whenever the reopening happens. Simply from a space constraint situation, right? You and I discussed Macau earlier. When you take a bird's eye view of a Macau casino, and not even on a Saturday night, on a Thursday afternoon, it's jam-packed. People are shoulder to shoulder under normal circumstances. That is not the case anymore. And those revenue projections, right, whatever fraction that is, will help us figure out and adjust our expectations downward. But it's not just those who pay attention to revenues, it's those who pay attention to jobs, right, that need to also think about those sorts of assessments. These are the difficult questions we face moving forward.
Is our fate tied to California, and therefore should we look to what California decides to open up toward what Nevada should open up percentage-wise?
Yes, absolutely. So in much the same way that, and people don't think of it this way, but Macau, 25% of their revenue is Hong Kong, which is their next door neighbor, right? About 25% of our revenue is California, which is our next door neighbor here in Nevada. And as a result, we are, like it or not, we're intimately intertwined. Our economies, but also in this case, our health, right? Again, I do think there's some reason for optimism. We have seen the whole world was in Las Vegas in January, in February, in early March, including from China. And once more, we didn't see massive outbreaks. That could have been a fluke, right? But maybe it could be that once more, we're able to manage through tremendous, tremendous experience, a physical environment in ways that might surprise us moving forward. I certainly hope that we'll innovate our way out of this.
And I see automation that was planned for 5 to 10 years from now becoming much more relevant much more quickly. We have about 45 seconds.
You're absolutely right. Automation was, of course, and is something that the kind workers, again, the backbone of our industry, have been concerned about for some time. But clearly an automated worker can't be afflicted in the way a human being can. And that's something that all operators are starting to consider right now. As has happened in previous automation eras, though, hopefully the jobs shift, right? They don't get eliminated so much as they move into different kinds of jobs in a way that takes advantage of this period rather than seeing it decimate the workforce.
And you know, that's been the history of the world, is that every time we've seen some kind of industrial revolution, that workers have been displaced from their original jobs, but there have been other jobs created because of that. Beau, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm sorry about the circumstances, but I am going to be calling you within the next month or so to have you come back and update us from around the world. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And we'll be right back. A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.